We are going to explore Walter Crane. He was a hugely influential figure in both the arts and crafts and Art Nouveau movement. It wasn't just visually appealing, but it also communicated his deep expression of social beliefs, history, and a mix of global influences. Let's start off with the arts and craft movement, where he worked very closely with designers like William Morris to counter the effects of industrialization. Him and his peers deeply valued handcrafted design and the harmony between function and beauty. His art eventually evolved into the art closer to the Art Nouveau movement with flowing lines in organic form. He found this particularly through his use of floral motifs, and he valued asymmetry unlike Morris, and his art just grew into these more flowing and unpredictable designs. Someone else who is very influential in the Art Nouveau movement would be Mucha. I personally love his work. I love the colors, I love the lines, I love the intricate details of it. It's very inspirational to me, and I just love his work. Someone else who finds his work very interesting is Scott Seva, who is a digital influencer who talks a lot about what it's like being an artist, and he draws a lot of inspiration from the Art Nouveau movement. And as such, I wanted to create a piece kind of similar to that. I wanted to use gouache, and I tried to capture the flowing of the lines. Was I successful in this? No, not as much as I would like to be, but it did give me some good practice with gouache, which is what I was kind of aiming for. Back to Crane. Crane drew a lot of inspiration from Japanese woodcuts. He admired these early in their career, and they were known for their sharp lines, clear motion, and it helped him refine his own style. These were very evident in his fairy tale illustration books. He was also very, very keen on line. He thought line was the foundation of all of his art and believed it to be hugely important as a way to communicate everything. And because of this, I tried using his method of line in a few sketches of mine. I have a hard time seeing lines of motion, so I've developed a different way of coming up with stuff like that. His method is a lot easier to convey fluid motion, whereas mine is better for static posing. Crane also drew a ton of inspiration from the Italian Renaissance. A lot of his oil work is very, in a lot of his oil work, this is very evident, and he uses a lot of that to talk about Greek myths, and it's just very, very pretty and elegant. Again, back to the floral motifs. He loved floral motifs, and it really embodied his belief in the unity between art and nature. My love of floral motifs is a little bit different as I used it to deepen the meanings behind my art. They may have not been as understood if it weren't for some of the flower meanings, which I just love the way that you're able to present information that way. Crane wasn't just an artist, he was a committed socialist. His art reflected his belief in the power of the working class and the importance of social reform, something that I think is very inspirational. And a lot of his propaganda posters talked about how he believed in these different political issues. I made a 2-page spread for a zine a while back talking about the regression of social rights in the US, which was deeply personal to me. And I just admire how Crane was able to talk about all of these political challenges within his own time. Crane, like mentioned previously, wrote a ton of different books. One of the most influential is Line and Form. It became one of the cornerstones of earliest 20th century design influences, and it was hugely inspirational to a generation of artists. Line was more than just a tool, it was a language to Crane. Flora's Feast is another book that he wrote. All of the illustrations in it are beautiful. They are very flowy and delicate, and I love them. They kind of tie back to my own work with this. This was part of my exhibition, and it talked about all the different flower meanings that I used in my own work as a way to guide the viewer through the exhibition should they choose to look deeper into the flower meanings. Crane also illustrated a ton of poetry books, bringing life to the poems. These illustrations offered new dimensions to the written world, emphasizing the emotional and lyrical natures of both art forms. Again, he illustrated a ton of fairy tales, like Grimm fairy tales and the Frog Prince, as shown previously, and it captivated readers with the style of Japanese woodcuts and just balancing the simplicity with dynamic motion. In summary, Walter Crane was more than an artist, he was a visionary, deeply committed to both art and social change. His many inspirations, combined with his social ideals, created a body of work that still remains hugely inspirational and influential today.